You can choose to be upset, but you're not obligated to be. In this episode, I'm going to address a moment that matters that I call a split-second turn. So I'm Doug Andrew, and I've been helping people for more than 48 years, primarily optimize their financial assets and minimize taxes. But people engage with our firm, Three-Dimensional Wealth, because it's more than just the money. I focus on the three dimensions. Financial is just one of those dimensions. The other two are your intellectual assets and your foundational assets. And so this particular episode talks about a concept that I call moments that matter, because every day, all of us have moments that matter. Sometimes we'll have a dozen or two, sometimes 100 to 200, and these are moments that are either planned or anticipated, but sometimes unexpected. You didn't see them coming. And so in other episodes, I talk about how to recognize them and then pause for a moment and lean into what's possible instead of deeming it an interruption, or you react in a mindless state and entrench yourself. How many times have I told you, son, not to bother me when I'm on the computer or I'm on my phone? No, then they learn to not come to you. You lean into what's possible, and then you become better. So there's two types of moments that matter. One, I have an episode that addresses when wisdom calls, don't send it to voicemail. This episode is the second. This is reactive, and it's called a split-second turn. So let me explain what a split-second turn is by using some stories, and then I'll give you a formula on how you can do this. So here on the screen are some examples of split-second turns. I had an experience with my brother, who has since passed away in an automobile accident in 1999, over 20 years ago. But I remember going to my brother's office one day, and I said, hey, his name was Sherm, I'm Doug. Our father would affectionately call us Sherm the Worm and Doug the Bug when we were growing up. He was 4 years older than me, but I admired my older brother. And I stopped in and I said, hey, I've got about 40 minutes. Let's go grab a quick bite of lunch. And are you ready to go? And sure enough, he gets in the car, and we are in a hurry. And we got into this left-hand turning lane, and I had been in that turning lane for 4 years, every day going to college. And it's one of those left-hand turning lanes that is very long. It's one of the busiest intersections in the state where I live. And I knew that it would let 12, 13, 14 cars through when the light turned green, the arrow turned green. But it was based on a motion sensor. So as long as the cars were paying attention and it sensed motion, it would stay green for 12, 13 cars. Well, has this ever happened to you? I'm sitting there talking to my brother a mile a minute, and I'm about the sixth car back, and the light turns green, and the lead car is not paying attention. And so it doesn't sense motion, and so it turns yellow. And now the lead car wakes up, and they're the only car that gets through, but because they weren't paying attention, all the rest of us have to wait for a whole series of lights. It ruins your whole day. It makes you angry. Yeah, you got, set back 2 minutes. Well, we were in a hurry. So this is playing out. And I'm the sixth car back, and I'm talking to my brother, and the light turns green, and the lead car's not paying attention. And I turned to my brother, and I said, some dumb idiot is not paying attention. And now we're going to have to... And just when I said that, the lead car wakes up because the light had turned yellow, and the lead car lunges through, and it comes into full view. And it's a cream-colored Chevrolet Monte Carlo with a distinguished gray-haired gentleman sitting in it. And I said, oh, and it's Dad. It was our father. Now, our dad was one of the most gentle men you would ever meet. He would never intentionally want to irritate anybody. And I instantly did a split-second turn. And I went from some dumb idiot to, oh, it's Dad. Oh, I wonder what's on his mind. Let's catch up with him and take him to lunch. What changed me instantly to taking an idiot to lunch, okay? It is what I call a split-second turn. Now, this also happens, with 6 children. My wife, she is so sweet, and she was a leader in our church and so forth. And sometimes our second daughter would leave a messy room and not hang up her clothes or make her bed. In fact, one time when we were on a family vacation, the alarm went off, and the police, if they can't get hold of us, have the authority to go into our house and check it out. And they finally called us and said, yeah, your alarm went off. We went in, and it looked like there were not any intruders, except one room looked like it was ransacked. That was our daughter's room. We never let her live that down. So this is a typical scene maybe in a morning. My wife telling our daughter, if you go to school one more day without making your bed, hanging up your clothes, tidying up your room, I'm going to march down to that school and I'm going to pull you out of class. You're going to come home and you're going to tidy up your room. And then the phone would ring while she's reading the riot act to our daughter. And the phone would ring and my wife would answer it. Hello? Oh, fine. And the children would go, that's not the woman she was a second ago. What allowed my wife to change instantly from no to hello, oh, fine? That's called a split-second turn. In other words, at the beginning of this episode, I said, you can choose to be upset, but you're not obligated to be, but you have power up here to change your mind instantly. We all do this. One last example. I have a friend, Keith, and he was in a mental ward one day at a mental hospital. And as he's going through, he gets attacked from his blind side, and this guy knocks him to the floor, and actually he's bleeding. He's got a nosebleed. And as he gets up to react and retaliate against this guy who attacked him, 3 nurses jump around the nurses' station and announce, Joe's having a seizure. Joe's having a seizure. Yeah, the guy's name was Joe. And Keith went instantly from retaliation, anger, and revenge to compassion and assistance and uplift. Isn't that amazing? You change instantly. That's called a split-second turn. Now, if this is already resonating with you, stay with me, but I would invite you to subscribe to this channel. It's free, 3-Dimensional Wealth, because I have a lot of episodes like this one, in fact, over 700, because this is about you and having a brighter future. I'm passionate about uplifting other people. Now, when you subscribe, be sure and click that little bell so you'll be notified every time I post a new video. Now, also, if you can think of somebody who would benefit from this one, click share, post a comment, click like. But stay with me to the end. I want to gift you a copy of a 200-page book, absolutely free. I want you to claim your free copy. But let's connect the dots. So, whenever you have a moment that matters, sort of like I've described, don't get upset. You can change your mind instantly. So here's the 3 basic steps to the split-second turn rule. You take an instant to delay your reaction, okay? Even count to 10 if you need to. 2, you get your bearings back, okay? Wait a minute, who is this and what am I doing? Maybe I'm a little bit out of control. I'm emotional right now. And then choose the response you're going to give before you just go off on a rant and get upset or whatever, okay? So take an instant to delay, get your bearings back, and then choose the response. So let me give you a little formula that I use that has been life-changing. In life, we all experience crises, deadlines that loom over us, and insults or offenses. This is just part of life. And many times when we experience these, how do we react? When a crisis occurs, we have an accident or something happens, we get upset, we get angry, we want to retaliate. Yeah. What about deadlines? Yeah, we get anxious. We get stressed out. We have this deadline. Or somebody offends us or insults us. Well, I have learned that when these things happen in life, instead of choosing that response, to approach it differently. And I do it with what has been in the good book forever. I'm talking about the Bible, okay? See, I deal with crisis with faith. See, if I'm fearful, it means I'm not exercising enough faith. So I go, okay, I've got this crisis. I can get through this. What can I learn from this? And so I exercise faith, and then the crisis doesn't seem so overwhelming anymore. It's amazing how magic that is. How do you deal with deadlines? I don't call them deadlines. I call them lifelines. When I had a deadline back in 2005 and 2006, it was $1 million advance for my third book to Time Warner, my publisher. And I had to get it in the day after Labor Day. Now, I can choose to be stressed out, or I can relax and go, I can't wait till that date, because I have hope that it will become a New York Times and Wall Street Journal #1 bestseller, which it did. So I chose to have hope, and I looked at it as a lifeline. What are going to be the opportunities that are going to come when that happens? And it changes everything when I deal with deadlines with hope. What about insults? Well, I found that probably 80% of the people that I took offense didn't mean to offend. See, I remember going to a woman's funeral, and her program said she was never offended because she never took offense. Whoa, I've never forgotten that. So if you choose to take offense, golly, that's your problem. But even if they chose to offend you, the best way to get back is not to take offense, but not to take offense, and that will bug them because they wanted you to get upset. And just don't let them do that. So that's where you exercise charity. Oh, you know what? If they had been through what I had been through, they would understand why I said that or why I did that. But bless their heart, they don't know. So I will forgive them. And just like Mark Twain said, forgiveness is the fragrance that the violet spreads upon the hill that crushed it. Just be forgiving. Forgiving. Those are root words in there. So you deal with charity, and it's amazing what happens. So one of my favorite scriptures is actually found in the book of John in the New Testament, chapter 15, verses 1 and 2. So I'll connect the dots with this. If you're not familiar, the setting is Christ meeting with his, actually it's the 11 disciples, apostles, because Judas has already left to betray him. And he is telling the remaining 11 that I am the true vine, and my Father is the husbandman. And every branch in me that beareth not fruit, he taketh away. But every branch that beareth fruit, he purgeth it, that it may bear more fruit. So in other words, what I like to teach my kids and grandkids is you either bear fruit or you don't bear fruit. Now, that means you're in life, in motion, adding value to the world, and you're giving instead of taking. In life, there's givers and takers. Now, when you do that, you're bearing fruit. Now, what Christ was telling them is, okay, if you bear fruit, you're going to be purged, so that you can bear more fruit. You're going to be pruned and so forth. It doesn't mean you're immune from problems. So don't take the victim role. Well, why? I thought I was doing everything right. How come this happened to me? No, deem yourself worthy that your Creator trusted you to be able to overcome this situation. But if you do not bear fruit, if you just take, life will take from the takers. It will give to the givers, and God has no use for you, is what Christ was telling his disciples. You're of no use if you do not bear fruit, but if you're going to bear fruit, you will be purged so that you can bear more fruit. So if that makes sense, these are moments that matter. If this is intriguing you, I want to gift you a copy of my book, Entitlement, Abolition. So here is how you can claim your free copy of this 200-page book. You don't need to pay $20 retail for it, but this is book number 10 out of 12 books that I've authored, and we've gone through thousands of these. But here's how you claim your free copy. If you go to entitlementabolitionbook.com or click on the link below, you contribute a nominal amount towards the shipping and handling. Have some skin in the game. I'll cover the rest of that cost. I'll pay for the book, and I'll fire out a hard copy to you. But there's also options in there to listen and learn or watch and learn. There's even an 18-hour masterclass where I dive about an hour to 2 hours in each one of the chapters. There's 12 in this book. And you will gain insights into opportunities such as this concept of moments that matter. But when you do that, there's options for all kinds of educational webinars and virtual events. So I invite you to claim your free copy. And this is hoping and wishing you to have a brighter future.